It is that time of the year where I share all of the best and worst products I tried in 2025. I will be sharing the best of drugstore and the best of high end very soon, but I thought I would start with the worst products, kind of get them out of the way and talk about them. Inevitably, as I test out a lot of makeup products over the year, not everything is going to be an absolute favorite. A lot of products are good and you might not see them in like the best video or the worst video, but these are truly the products that did not work for me. They could work for you if you have a different skin type, if you have different preferences, and I will be sure to let you know if they have any redeeming qualities, but some of these products are just poor quality products. I would not recommend spending your money on them when there are so many good products out there. So we'll go through everything in today's video. I will link alternatives in the description box below. That way, if you want to know what I like instead of these products, you can check down there. I'll try to list like at least one or two drugstore alternatives for each product and then maybe a high-end one as well. But there's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. Let's start with this product because I was so excited to try this. In fact, there are a few products in today's video that I personally was just like highly anticipating and they didn't work out for me, which made them extra disappointing. This is from Essence, one of my favorite brands. It is their foundation stick. So let's start with the pros. This foundation stick is $6.99. So one of the most affordable foundation sticks and just affordable foundations on the market right now. It also comes in 43 shades, which is amazing to see. Essence hasn't always been known for having the most inclusive shade range. So I do love that there is such an affordable foundation in so many different shade options. The initial application is beautiful. It's very creamy, very blendable, so super easy to work with. It doesn't, tug, it doesn't stick in certain areas. So when I first applied this, I think I filmed a video where I was trying it out on camera for the first time. I had such high hopes for it. And honestly, it looks really good for the first few hours, and then that's where things start to go downhill. They say that it has a natural matte finish. On me, there's a little bit more of a glow. Obviously, you can kind of adjust that based on what you're wearing underneath, whether it's like just sunscreen or a mattifying primer, and you can, make it work for you in one way or the other. But again, after a few hours, it really starts to break down on me. It looks very greasy, not just oily, like full on greasy on my skin. And initially, when I tried it, I think it was the summertime. So I was like, maybe it'll work better for me in the fall and the winter, but that's just not the case. I would say it doesn't break down as fast on me in the fall and the winter, but it still kind of breaks apart. You know how some foundations and some complexion products look like you apply them to your skin and you like stretch the product and then you let go and it just kind of like didn't settle back into place? That's what this looks like on my skin after a few hours. So really not flattering, to be honest. And when I reach for a foundation stick, I usually want something that's like lighter coverage, very easy to work with, looks pretty good throughout the day, but also still looks natural. And this just looks like I'm wearing a heavy, cakey foundation. I know there are some people who really like this, so maybe there is a chance you would like it. I just think there are better alternatives out there. The ColourPop one is very creamy, just like this, but that one is a lot more forgiving on the skin. I think that one's great for dry skin. My absolute favorite is the Milani Skin Tint Stick. That one is a lot more expensive, which sucks because this is so affordable, but that one sits on my skin better. It holds up so much better throughout the day too. So I personally would go with Milani if you have combo oily skin, ColourPop if you have dry skin, and I wouldn't recommend this one because of the way it just doesn't last or look good after a few hours, unfortunately. I do have another product from Essence. This product is just strange. I talked about it in a fairly recent speed reviews video, so I will put chapters in the description and like along the bottom bar, so if you want to skip ahead, definitely feel free to do so. This is a little bit newer from them. It's their Bouncy Plump Smoothing Primer. The texture of this product is just a little bit off. It almost feels like they didn't get it mixed properly as they were creating it, and I don't know if that is purposeful or if there really was like a manufacturing issue. It's just a little bit weird. They're marketing this as a smoothing primer, but they're also say it's hydrating and plumping, and I just don't find that it performs in any of those three categories. It really does not smooth out my skin. I mean, my skin looks okay when I initially apply it, but I could think of like 7 other smoothing primers at the drugstore that are significantly better than this, like just off the top of my head. It has a little bit of like a cooling feel on the skin, so I think it almost tricks your mind into thinking that it's hydrating, but I definitely don't think it does anything in that area, and it definitely does not leave my skin looking like juicy or plumped up by any means. I would say if you're looking for something that kind of meets, those similar claims, their Hello Good Stuff primer is one of my favorites. I wouldn't say that one is like extremely smoothing, but it's a serum-like texture, very similar to the Glow Recipe Watermelon Dewdrops. So it's thin, it's very hydrating, and that actually does leave your skin looking kind of bouncy and plumped up. If you're looking for a smoothing option, I mean, Milani's is great. NYX, actually the NYX Plump Right Back, I feel like is kind of similar to this one, but that actually does a great job of smoothing out the skin and hydrating the skin. So again, I'll list some alternatives in the description box below. I mean, I've tried this quite a bit. You can see there's like a good dip in this bottle, and every time I use it, I'm just not impressed at all. Another drugstore launch that I was very excited to try is this one from e.l.f. I think this technically came out at like the very end of 2024 or like the very beginning of 2025, but it is the Power Grip Matte Primer. I love the original Power Grip Primer. It's been one of my all-time favorites for a very long time. It's a thick, sticky primer that leaves your skin looking glowy. It extends the wear of your makeup, and it's also very, very hydrating. So this one kind of had like a similar claim, except for instead of, hydrating your skin or leaving you with that glowy look, it's supposed to mattify your skin. And I think it also has smoothing claims as well. But like the original Power Grip, it's supposed to lock your makeup into place with a sticky, gripping texture. That sounded really interesting to me because it is a sticky primer with a gluey feel. It's kind of hard to really work into your skin evenly. I find that the original Power Grip is much easier to apply because it has more of a slip to it because it is a hydrating primer. This one is sticky and gripping, but it's supposed to be mattifying, so it doesn't smooth onto the skin as easily. They say to actually like tap it onto your skin, but when I do that, I can't really apply the product super evenly. So with the original Power Grip, I'll usually blend it in and then kind of tap it to activate it. Whereas with this one, it just doesn't blend in as easily. So no matter what, I feel like I never get an even application, which results in my foundation wearing off unevenly throughout the day. So just a few hours after applying it, I feel like my foundation starts to look patchy. I might be like super shiny in certain areas, or like if I'm touching my face throughout the day, like I'll notice a lot more wear in certain areas of my face compared to others. So overall, when I wear this, I feel like my makeup just does not look as good throughout the day. As for pros, I mean, this does keep my skin pretty matte throughout the day in the areas where it actually stays in place well, but so does their liquid poreless putty primer. And that one is also very smoothing, so much easier to apply because it's just like this liquid smoothing formula that blurs the skin, keeps your skin matte. So in my mind, that one makes a lot more sense than this. But again, I know there are some people who enjoy it. So if you found a way to make this work for you, let us know in the comments. Another fail from e.l.f. Again, I think this came out at the very end of 2024. It is the Holy Strokes Microfine Brow Pen. I remember saying like a few times over the last year or two, I really want e.l.f. to come out with a brow pen. I love a good brow pen. Now you can find them from quite a few brands, but there was a time period where, there weren't too many brands doing them, at least drugstore brands. And when they finally launched it, I was excited, but this was a complete fail. And as I've read through reviews of this online, I feel like a lot of people have issues with this. So again, I wonder if there was like some sort of manufacturing issue, if the packaging just wasn't designed in the most ideal way, because it feels like you can't get the product to come out of this. I know they meant for it to be a little bit softer to create more of like a natural looking brow rather than something super intense, but it almost feels like the liquid in the pen cannot make its way down into the brush. It just doesn't show up well on the brows. And at first I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just not for me. I like something a little bit more intense, but I feel like after one or two uses, it was completely dried out. And that just should not be the case for any product, but especially a brow pen that's supposed to have, at least a few more uses than that. That's actually been an issue with a few other brands in the past. I think LA Girl did one and I had the same experience. So maybe these types of products are hard to create, but I can't imagine they are because so many brands have liquid liners in the same exact packaging. So I personally wouldn't recommend this one. There are a ton of other options at this point. It does come in 7 shades, but NYX actually offers more shades and their brow pen lasts forever. Like whenever I open a new one, it will last me for months and months, even if I'm using it every single day. Milani also makes one. I don't think theirs is quite as intense as NYX, but they only have 3 shades. So those are the 2 drugstore alternatives I would recommend, but if you have another alternative, let us know. I would just say save your money and skip over this one because even if you like a softer look, in my experience and based on a lot of reviews I've read, it just doesn't seem to work past the first few uses. Even if you store it upside down, even if you shake it, I feel like there's no difference. Okay, I actually didn't try too many bad eyeshadow palettes this year. I feel like I cut down on eyeshadow palettes as a whole. So I'm not sure. I actually haven't looked at like everything that I purchased this year to see if I'm going to do like an eyeshadow palette roundup or not. Maybe I will, but maybe I'll also include like single shadows because I did try some of those this year. But there was one formula I found to be very disappointing at the drugstore. These are actually from LA Girl. They look so pretty. Like I had high hopes for these. As soon as I got them in the mail, I was excited because the packaging is gorgeous. Like these are pretty big palettes for having 5 shadows in them, and they're under $10. They did launch 3 different palettes. I picked up 2. So I picked up Breezy Nude. I love the tones in here. That's the issue. Like these look so pretty. They just don't look like this on the eyes, and they don't hold up well on the eyes. This one is Airy Taupe. So these come with a bouncy kind of cream to powder type of formula. There are matte shadows and then there are shimmer shadows in here as well. The shimmers kind of give like a little bit of a scattered glitter effect on the eyes. I'm sure I have a clip on my channel of me applying these, or at least one of these, so I'll include it in today's video. I would say the formula is maybe most similar to the ColourPop Super Shock shadows. And I actually don't know, I always say this, but I don't know if ColourPop does matte Super Shock shadows anymore. They used to back in the day, but I don't think they really do. I think they really focus on like shimmers, glitters, metallics, that kind of thing. These shadows feel so nice as you apply them. They're so creamy. They actually give the eyes like this smooth blurred effect. So if you have, you know, a lot of wrinkles, a lot of lines, if you feel like a lot of shadows don't look super flattering on your skin, I know that's something I get in my comment section a lot. A formula like this would actually be really nice because it just smooths out and blurs over the eyes very beautifully. The issue is these are so soft on the eyes. They look much more pigmented in the pan than they actually do once you apply them. And a lot of the shades actually end up blending right into my skin tone. I do have a lighter skin tone, so I would say if your skin tone is really any darker than mine, you probably won't get some of these shades to really show up on you at all. For people who do prefer something very soft, very subtle, that might be a pro for you. But the other issue is the shimmer shadows. While they look so pretty, they just fall all over the eyes. Like the glitters in these shades will end up all over your face, both initially and throughout the day. You can combat that by using like a sticky, tacky base, and it will help a little bit. But then I find that when I use a base like that, they actually end up creasing on me. So I feel like they are so difficult to work with, which sucks because it's a good idea in theory. And I love the way they feel. They apply so beautifully, but there were just too many cons for me personally to be able to wear them or really recommend them. Even though they're only $8, I would say save your money, skip over them. I think in general, when you're reaching for an eyeshadow, you want it to either wear well throughout the day or be able to actually show up. And I don't think these are really worth all the effort they take. LA Girl makes a lot of beautiful shadows. I just liked the idea of this formula because it was a little bit different. There was one high-end palette that I did consider to be a fail, and it's not the absolute worst palette I've ever tried in my entire life, but palettes, especially high-end palettes, are very expensive these days. And I feel like if a brand is going to charge $50, $60, $70, $80 for a palette, it has to perform pretty close to perfectly, at least in my opinion. So this one is from Urban Decay. It's $56, which surprisingly, $56 is actually on the more inexpensive side when it comes to Sephora. So this is what the palette looks like. This is their naked shaped multitasking palette. They did a cool version and then a warm version. So I have the cool version. It actually slides up like this, and then you have all of the shadows right here. There is no mirror, which I know can be a con for a lot of people. It feels kind of cheap, to be honest. I mean, I don't hate the packaging. When I did get mine in the mail, one of the shades came shattered. That's not something I've read in the reviews a lot, so I don't know if that's something that you really have to be concerned about, but mine did come broken, just so you know. So initially, like the main thing that I did not love about this was the fact that the cream shadows were not closed off. Right here in the center, you get 4 cream shadows because this is meant to be a multitasking palette that you can use on the eyes, the face, the brows. You can use these shadows to like contour and highlight. So I feel like, you know, with a lot of palettes that have creams and shimmers, they have something that kind of closes them off. So, or creams and powders, so the powder doesn't mix with the cream. As for things I do like about this, I think the color story is beautiful. It's kind of muted. A lot of cool tone palettes these days are either like incredibly smoky, very gray toned. They have like some purples and blues, but overall, I feel like most of the shades in here are softer, cooler tones that are very flattering on the eyes, especially if you don't like to do anything, too intense with your makeup day to day. I feel like the shades in here are nice for that. The matte shadows are some of their best matte shadows, like so smooth, so easy to blend, truly effortless. So I feel like their matte shadows have improved, but the shimmer shadows are very underwhelming. They are so subtle on the eyes, and for you, that could be a pro. Maybe you like something pretty subtle, but I feel like they're kind of dry, a little bit chalky. They're just not anything special. You could find this type of shimmer formula in any palette, even in like a $4 quad from the drugstore. And I have quads from the drugstore that I think actually perform even better. This is kind of like a, slightly creamy shadow that's super wet looking on the eyes that you can use to really amp up the shimmers. So I'm glad they included this. But overall, I just feel like this palette is not as impressive as it should be for almost $60. And then the creams in here, again, very, very subtle. Some people might like that, but I feel like if you're going to use a cream like this to really contour, kind of define the eyes, line the eyes, it has to be a little bit richer overall. Maybe even something you could sheer out, but these are pretty subtle. And now that I've had my palette for a little while, like they almost feel dried out. Like see how soft that is on the skin? So I just feel like for most people, it's going to end up blending right into their skin, almost blending away to nothing. I mean, if you find the Patrick Ta palettes just too much for you, if you are like, those creams are way too rich, those shadows are too pigmented, maybe you'll like the fact that this is more of a subtle palette. I'm sure there are people who will enjoy it. And I know a lot of people in like my personal life love Urban Decay. They still use like Urban Decay Naked palettes, the Naked Basics palettes. So I know there's a market for a palette like this. I just feel like if you are an eyeshadow lover, a palette lover, you probably have something that performs significantly better than this in your collection already. It felt like a lot of high-end brands were doing baked blushes this year, or like baked type formulas. And baked blushes have been around for a really long time. There are brands that have been doing them. I mean, Laura Geller, which I feel like Laura Geller is making a little bit of a comeback. I was watching Hulu right before this and I got like 3 Laura Geller ads and I've been seeing them everywhere lately. Maybe they're just like stepping up their marketing. But Milani baked blushes are great. So, I mean, there are other options out there at this point, but a lot of high-end brands were doing them, Say included. I decided to try this one out. I mean, the swatches, the promo photos looked really beautiful. And I was like, let me just see if it's worth the money. Honestly, I found this one to be a fail for sure. I like the color of this blush, and I don't have a lot of blushes that kind of fall into this color family, but I did find one from Essence that looks basically identical on the cheeks. Although I think the Essence Pure Nude baked blushes might be on their way out. I was looking for it before this video and it looks like they took them off of Ulta's website. They're still available on the Essence website. So I would say if you need to purchase one or repurchase your favorite, maybe grab it soon because I feel like that is going to be discontinued soon. Unfortunately, it's such a good formula. So this is the Say Super Suede Radiant Blush Powder. I picked up the shade Stella. It does come in 6 different shades. They retail for $28. So again, pretty expensive, especially compared to a drugstore alternative. I do think this blush gives your cheeks a really pretty glow. I like the glowy factor because I think there's like very fine micro shimmer in here. There's not any like really intense heavy glitter, but it makes you look like you're glowing rather than like you applied a highlighter or like a really intense glowy blush. So the actual finish is pretty, but the base color underneath always looks patchy on me no matter what. The blush itself feels smooth when you touch it, but when you go in with a brush, it kind of feels dry, a little bit patchy. I mean, that swatch was incredibly underwhelming, especially for how it looks in the pan. I think overall it is a little bit more subtle and you can gradually build it up. Baked blushes, they really vary. Sometimes baked blushes are really intense. Sometimes they're a little bit more subtle, but look at the glow. The glow is so pretty, like very natural, very beautiful. And I used my finger to blend this in, so it blended in fairly easily. But when I'm applying this to the cheeks with a brush, it looks patchy, it looks uneven. And because this is, kind of like a red tone, it makes it look like my skin is like splotchy and red in certain areas in a very unflattering way. On top of all of that, the packaging feels so cheap for an almost $30 blush. The packaging to me is not like a make it or break it. As long as the product is well protected and the packaging is functional, I'm okay with it. But typically when I'm shopping at Sephora, I do expect like a little bit of an elevated experience when it comes to packaging versus buying like a $5 blush from the drugstore. Like if they're going to charge 5, almost 6 times the price of what I can find at the drugstore, I just feel like the packaging should maybe be a little bit nicer. And this honestly is like the cheapest packaging ever. So just something I'm throwing out there in case you do like to have nicer packaging with your high-end products. I also tried this blush from Ilia. I do like this one better than the Say blush. I think it performs better. It looks a little bit more even on the skin, but I still find it to be very underwhelming for the price. This is actually a $36 blush. It's called their Soft Focus Blurring Blush, and I have the shade Glimpse. The packaging feels kind of similar, but I do think this looks and feels a little bit nicer, so I wouldn't say it's quite as cheap feeling. I do like simplified packaging. I mean, I think this is pretty. It's just this Say one just feels like if I were to even just like set it down, it could shatter. So this blush comes in 8 different options. The colors are really, really pretty. And I think the color of this blush is gorgeous. Again, I only have one, so this is just based on my experience with the shade Glimpse. If you were to grab a brighter shade, a darker shade, you might have a better experience overall. This is very, very subtle, which might be what you're going for. I like to have more subtle blushes because I don't tend to wear a lot of super intense, vibrant blush. I was going to say day to day, but really at all. So I'm not opposed to something that looks a little bit softer on the skin. And I do think this color is pretty, but there's also, like a little bit of, it's hard to explain because when I look at it in the pan, I can't really see it. So I kind of feel like maybe it is just an overspray and like the more you use it, the less it shows up. But as I was using this in the beginning, there was almost like I don't know, can you see it? Like a blue shift to it, like an iridescence almost. Then when I turn my hand and look at it, I can't really see it. So I do think it is mainly just like that initial overspray, and as you work through the product, it goes away a little bit. It looks so pretty on the hand. That is the issue. Like some of these products swatch so much better than they apply. And again, this one does not look as patchy or uneven as Say, but it also doesn't look like anything super special. I wouldn't say it gives my skin like a super smooth, blurred look like it claims to do. And this one's $36, so closer to 40 after tax. I just didn't find either one of these formulas to be super impressive in the way they looked, the way they wore, the way they applied. I just think there are so many better options out there. Anyway, enough about those. Moving on, this product is from One Size. I think One Size products in general are pretty impressive as a whole, but I felt like this one kind of fell short. And again, it's $40. Listen, I like high-end makeup. I know I talk mainly about drugstore makeup on my channel, but I also love shopping at Sephora. There are so many brands, so many products that I'm willing to pay a higher price for just because I'm a makeup lover and I love it all. But I also feel like, again, these high-end brands are charging so much money for products these days. And for $40, it has to be close to perfect, if not perfect, for it to be worth the money, in my opinion. And this one, I found it to be underwhelming. It's the Boucle Silk Cellulose Airbrushed Powder. This comes in 10 different shades. They do describe it as a sheer kind of flexible formula, and I do find that to be the case. I got this in PR and they sent me fair and light, and honestly, I feel like I could get away with wearing either one of them. This one is light. I just feel like whenever I use this, I am kind of underwhelmed. I took this with me on vacation. I was on a cruise with my family and we actually went to dinner every single night. So I did my makeup every single night, which I don't normally do on vacation. And I brought this with me and I used it almost every single night. And every time I used it, I was like, it's just not doing what I want it to do. It is very lightweight, so it doesn't look heavy or cakey on the skin, which is obviously ideal when it comes to a finishing powder, but it also doesn't give my skin like a smooth airbrush finish. If I would go in with my bronzer and I felt like I needed to kind of blend it out or go over it with a finishing powder and I would use this product, it just didn't look like it did anything for me at all. It also doesn't have, like when you look at this in the pan, it has a little bit of like this kind of subtle glow to it that's very, very flattering. What was I talking about earlier that had that? The Say blush. Like the way this gives your skin a natural glow is so perfect. And when you look at this product in the pan, it kind of looks like it would do that. But then when you apply it to the skin, there's no glow. There's no even like natural satin finish. It just looks like you powdered your skin. But again, because it is like truly a lightweight formula, it doesn't look like you have a lot of powder on your skin. It just doesn't look super flattering in my opinion. Another powder that didn't work for me was the Revolution Hydra Cool Baking Powder. This sounded so interesting, and it is interesting in theory. They say that it is 62% water. It has hyaluronic acid in it. It's talc free. When you touch this powder, it actually feels wet. It's so weird. It has like a little bit of a cooling effect on the skin. So if you have dry skin or sensitive skin or easily irritated skin, you might actually love the way this feels. And to be honest, if you're using like a large fluffy brush and a very small amount of this powder, it doesn't look bad on the skin. It actually looks nice and gives your skin like a smooth finish. It doesn't really lock my makeup into place well, so I don't use it for that purpose. But maybe if you want to use it as a finishing powder or you have dry skin and you don't like a heavy powder, you might like just a little bit of this. But if you have oily skin, I might stay away from this because when I use this, my skin does get pretty oily pretty quickly. So I don't think it's ideal for oily skin or maybe even normal skin. Because it does have like a wet feel to it, I feel like when you press it into the skin with like a velour puff, it just like moves your foundation around. It doesn't interact well with your foundation. So I personally would not recommend using it in that way. Because it is just kind of like a trickier product to use, I personally don't think it's worth the money. It's, in my opinion, a little bit gimmicky. I feel like even if you have dry skin, there are a ton of other like lightweight setting powders that would still do a good job for you. But if you really want to try something like this, or I think it was a lot of you said, who was, oh, Becca, that had a product like this and Becca's no longer in business. Maybe this would be a good alternative. I just found it, you know, kind of interesting, but just didn't really end up working out for me practically. After trying this and saying that I didn't like it though in a previous video, some of you recommended just like their regular setting powder. And I think they actually came out with some additional shades this year. And that one's really, really good. I love that one. It's really lightweight and it almost feels the exact same as this without like the wet texture and the cooling effect. So very light, very silky, really flattering on the skin. Honestly, Revolution Beauty really stepped it up this year. They had a ton of good launches. In the past, when I would try their products, I encountered like so many more fails than products I actually ended up loving. And this year, I only had a couple of products that didn't work for me and a lot that I actually really loved and raved about. Another one of their products that did not work for me though was this one. This is the Pout Lip Oil. Again, this is not the worst product you'll ever try in your entire life. This is an $8 lip oil. It does come in 7 different shades. They are pretty sheer overall, so they don't end up looking that different on the lips. If you are interested in trying this, I don't think you really need to go and buy a bunch of them. I like the large applicator. It's very comfortable as you apply it, but that's pretty much where the pros end for me personally. It's just too thin, and not like thin in a good way. There are so many different, you know, types of lip oils. Some of them are like true oily lip oils. Some are a little bit thicker. Some feel more like a gloss. This leans in the direction of being like a very oily lip oil, but it's also, it has like a little bit of a gel feel to it as well. So it's not sticky at all. It glides on the lips easily. It gives you a little bit of shine, but because it is so thin, it lasts like maybe 15 minutes total. And then once it wears off, it doesn't feel like you ever applied anything to your lips. So I wouldn't say it really dries my lips out, but it also doesn't, you know, moisturize them at all. Like once it's gone, it's gone. The two that I have smell a little bit different. Yeah, this one is Juicy Peach. So like there's kind of like a peach scent there, but it's not like a good peach scent. Like it's like a strong, sharp peach scent. And then this one is Cherry Red. I mean, this smells just like cherry cough syrup. You can also kind of taste them on the lips, just not like the most pleasant taste. It's like a fruity taste mixed with like cleaning supplies. I don't like them, honestly. And it comes down to personal preference, obviously, when it comes to lip oil. But the thing about lip oil is you could find a million of them at any price point, high end or drugstore. And because of that, I feel like you can be really, really picky when it comes to which one you decide to purchase. And I personally would just end up skipping over these. I just think they're really not worth it. This is something I wanted to love because honestly, I like the way this looks on the lips initially. This is from Milk Makeup and it is their Balmade, what's the official name? Electrolyte Lip Balm. One that I just applied is called Juiced. So as you can see, like it looks very glossy, very, very shiny, which I love. I love a good like glossy, intense gloss. So they look nice. They also feel nice. They're like, They're a little bit different. They almost feel like very watery, very thin, almost like a serum-like texture when you apply them. So they go on and feel really beautiful, just a little bit different than your typical lip balm. They just kind of melt onto the lips, and while they're on the lips, they do have like this nice kind of refreshing, hydrating feel to them. But again, because they're so thin, they wear off extremely quickly. Like I just applied mine and I feel like it's already wearing off. These do come in 7 different shades and scents, so they all smell a little bit different, and they're all pretty subtle for the most part. I think the photos online can be a little bit misleading because I'm sure a lot of brands do this, but I feel like some of the models have lip liner or lipstick underneath because they really are pretty light, pretty soft. I think most of them end up looking basically clear on the lips. I'll just swatch the 3 that I have right here. I love the fact that they are so reflective, and that's why I like really wanted to love them. Also, they're $18, which is quite a bit less expensive than most lip balms at Sephora. I just feel like they wear off too quickly. And again, because they are so thin and so glossy, they don't really have like that hydrating factor that I feel like most people are looking for when it comes to a lip balm. Again, kind of similar to like the Revolution lip oil. Once it's gone, it's gone. And then to feel any sort of moisture on your lips again, you have to reapply it. And then you'll end up reapplying it multiple times, like just within an hour. So, you know, they smell good. They're fun to wear. They're really pretty. But I would say if you're being like very nitpicky about which oil, which lip lip balm to spend your money on, this probably isn't the most ideal option. Also, the lip balms did start separating after having them for like just 2 weeks. So if you look closely at the tube, you can see that there's separation in there, which to me would normally indicate that the product had expired, but I had these like right after they launched. So I don't know, maybe they did sit in a warehouse for a very long time before they actually like sent them out. I don't know. I'm not a cosmetic chemist, so I can't say for sure. I feel like it's just the fact that these are so watery, like they have such an oily feeling base. There's something about the ingredients that just want to like separate and not stay together. A lot of brands did lip stains this year, and like glossy lip stains have been very popular. ColourPop launched one. And to be honest, this is not a bad product. I feel like it was just marketed in the wrong way, and it's described in the wrong way. So they actually call this their glossy lip stain. And when I think of a glossy lip stain or a good glossy lip stain, I think of Milani, I think of Fenty, I think of the NYX Lip IVs. This to me is not a glossy lip stain. First of all, it's not extremely glossy. Let me use the most intense one, the red one. So this one is in Fruit Punch. So here's what it looks like when you initially apply it. This is fairly sheer, and a lot of glossy lip stains have more of like an intense initial application, so you do get a lot of color. You can build these up to some extent, but not really. As you can tell, this is not extremely glossy. It almost has like a satin finish, which honestly I'm not opposed to. Let me let this dry down for a second and I'll wipe it away and show you what this stain looks like. I almost feel like they should have marketed these as like hydrating blotted lip colors or something like that, because it does remind me when it's actually on the lips of their blotted lip colors. I don't know if they still have those or not, but it feels much more comfortable on the lips than that original formula. It almost has a little bit of a cooling effect, so it does feel really nice. And it's not, you know, super unflattering. It doesn't highlight dryness. If my lips are, you know, not looking the best that day, it's not going to draw attention to those because it does, again, feel pretty hydrating overall, but it's not glossy, like I said, and it doesn't really stain. I guess I should say it doesn't stain well. Like there's a little bit of a stain there, but honestly, on the lips, I don't really even get much of a stain at all. So as it wears off, especially if you're like eating and talking and drinking throughout the day, it just basically disappears, and it doesn't take long for it to disappear at all. I am not on the ColourPop marketing team. That is not my area of expertise. I understand why they came out with a glossy lip stain. Lip stains are trending, glossy lip stains are trending, but I don't feel like this product is a true glossy lip stain. So if that is why you're buying it, or if that's why you were considering it, I would maybe skip over it and go with an alternative, because I don't think it really performs well in either one of the main areas that a glossy lip stain should perform well, which is having like a true glossy finish and actually staining the lips. If you liked the idea of their blotted lipsticks or whatever those were called, I don't know if they still have them, but they had those back in the day, but you want like an improved version, you might actually like this product. Like I'm not opposed to it. If I pair like normally this shade with a liner, it's actually very comfortable. It looks really pretty and it feels nice on the lips. Again, I feel like the marketing is off with this product. So if you're buying it hoping it will be a true glossy stain, I think you'll be disappointed. Okay, last product for now. I actually tried a lot of setting sprays this year, and honestly, like I have my favorites at this point. So I think in 2026, I probably won't try quite as many, but Essence came out with a few, so I decided to put them to the test. This one is the Fix and Last 18-hour long-lasting makeup setting spray. This is $4.99, so very inexpensive, but they claim 18 hours of makeup wear, and my makeup breaks down so quickly with this. It actually, like, if they marketed this as like a makeup remover mist, I'd probably believe it because that's what happens. Like it doesn't immediately melt my makeup off, but like after an hour or two, it starts to separate. My skin starts to get oily. It really does not extend the wear of my makeup at all. It actually makes my makeup wear so much worse than it does if I were to completely skip this product or just not go in with a setting spray at all. It also doesn't give my skin like that initial smooth kind of melted together kind of look that you sometimes expect from a setting spray. It also has like a very strong, fresh floral scent, which isn't pleasant. At the same exact time, they launched another setting spray that comes in a pink bottle. I think that one is maybe marketed as a matte setting spray. That one works so much better in my opinion. So if you are looking for an inexpensive option, I would go with that one. But you can find other great setting sprays at the drugstore. Milani makes a good one. NYX makes a good one. Hard Candy just launched like an entire line of setting sprays that I think are not $5, but maybe $7, so still very inexpensive. So those were the worst products I tried in 2025. Let me know in the comments below if you tried any complete fails, if there's anything you think we should avoid. And make sure to stay tuned because I will be uploading the best drugstore products I tried this year and the best high-end products with maybe a few other like end of the year wrap-up videos. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll see you very soon with a new one. Bye.